If your Counter-Strike 2 setup deserves more than blurry motion and inconsistent gameplay, the right monitor can make a huge difference. A good esports display can help enemy movement look cleaner, flick shots feel more responsive, and long sessions feel a lot smoother overall. In this video, we're going through some of the best monitors for CS2 in 2026 and breaking down which ones are actually worth considering depending on how you play. Or learn more about any of the monitors mentioned. All the links will be down in the description below. Without further delay, let's get started with the list. Starting at number 5, Alienware AW2524HF. If you mainly care about smooth gameplay without spending crazy OLED money, this monitor makes a lot of sense for CS2. The AW2524HF feels fast, clean, and super responsive in actual matches, especially during close-range fights and quick flicks where motion clarity really matters. It doesn't try too hard to be flashy. It just focuses on giving you a smooth competitive experience that feels reliable every time you queue up. What I like about this one is that it works well for players who grind ranked regularly but still want something more affordable than the premium esports models from BenQ or ASUS. The motion feels sharp enough to keep tracking enemies comfortably, and long gaming sessions feel easy on the eyes once everything is dialed in. The downside is that it doesn't have the same elite-level motion tuning or locked-in esports feel as some of the more expensive flagship options. So, if you're ultra-competitive at a high level, you may eventually want something stronger. Personally, I think this is one of the smartest value picks for CS2 players who want speed first without destroying their budget. At number 4, ASUS ROG Swift PG27AQN. This monitor still feels built for people who take Counter-Strike way too seriously in the best possible way. The PG27HEN has that locked-in competitive feel, where movement looks sharp, aiming feels consistent, and tracking enemies during fast twins just feels easier once you get used to it. What really makes it stand out is how balanced it is. You get the speed competitive players want, but the sharper image also makes the game look cleaner than the usual old-school esports panels. I think this works best for players who grind ranked constantly but still want something that feels premium enough for everyday use outside CS2. Watching videos, browsing, or playing other games feels a lot nicer here compared to the super plain esports-only displays. The downside is that newer OLED monitors are starting to steal attention with even crazier motion clarity and richer contrast. So on paper, this one doesn't look as flashy anymore, especially for the price. Still, when it comes to actual competitive Counter-Strike, this monitor absolutely delivers. Personally, I'd still trust it as a serious long-term CS2 setup without hesitation. At number 3, ASUS ROG Swift OL PG27AQ-DP. This monitor feels like ASUS took a competitive esports display and finally gave it the image quality people actually wanted. The motion looks ridiculously smooth in CS2, especially during fast peak spray transfers and flick shots where clarity really mattered. But what surprised me most is how good everything else looks too. Games, videos, even normal desktop use just feel cleaner and more premium compared to the old-school esports panels that only care about speed. I think this is perfect for players who spend a lot of time in Counter-Strike, but also want one monitor that can do everything well. You still get that super responsive competitive feel, but now you're not stuck with a screen that looks boring outside ranked matches. It feels like a true high-end setup every time you sit down. The honest downside is the price. This thing is expensive, and for pure hardcore CS2 grinders, some smaller 24-inch esports monitors may still feel more focused and familiar. OLED burn-in worries also never fully disappear in the back of your mind. Personally though, this is one of the most fun CS2 monitors I've used because it mixes insane speed with genuinely beautiful image quality. At number 2, ASUS ROG Swift Pro PG248QP. The first time you play CS2 on this monitor, the smoothness is honestly hard to ignore. Everything feels incredibly fast and controlled, especially during quick strafes, close-range fights, and those chaotic moments where tracking movement perfectly can decide the round. This is one of those monitors that clearly knows its job. It's built for pure competitive gaming, and you can feel that focus almost immediate. What makes the PG248QP special is how clean motion looks when everything is running properly. Enemy movement feels easier to read, and aiming starts to feel more connected instead of slightly blurry or delayed during fast action. For serious ranked grinders, FACEIT players, or anyone chasing every little advantage in CS2, this thing absolutely delivers. The downside is that it's very specialized. Outside competitive gaming, it doesn't feel nearly as exciting as some of the newer OLED displays with richer colors and sharper overall image quality. And for the price, some people may expect a more balanced all-around. But if your main goal is winning fights and getting the smoothest competitive feel possible, this monitor still feels like one of the strongest pure esports picks you can buy right now. At number 1, BenQ Zowie XL2586X Plus. If your entire setup is built around competitive Counter-Strike 2, this monitor is about as focused as it gets. The XL2586X Plus feels incredibly dialed in for fast shooters. Enemy movement looks extremely clear during quick peeks, sprays feel easier to control, and tracking targets during chaotic fights just feels more natural. It's one of those monitors where you notice the difference most when the match gets intense, and every tiny reaction matters. What really makes this stand out is how esports focused the whole experience feels. There's no extra fluff here. It's clearly designed for players who care more about winning rounds than having pretty colors or cinematic visuals. If you grind FACEIT, Premiere, or spend hours practicing aim every week, this monitor feels built exactly for that lifestyle. The honest downside is that outside competitive gaming, it looks pretty plain compared to newer OLED displays. Watching movies or playing slower single-player games just doesn't feel as impressive here. It's a specialist, not an all-around entertainment monitor. Still, for pure CS2 performance, this is probably the closest thing to an endgame esports monitor right now.